Hey guys, before we start the show, I wanted to remind you guys that if you are interested in launching your own podcast or if you have a current podcast that you would like to rebrand, this is your chance. Idea to Launch Academy. Go to my show description, use my affiliate code. You don't want to miss this chance. My coach, Carla Ramirez, has another round coming up and the self-paced course is still available. So this is your chance. What are you waiting for? Go to my show description, Idea to Launch Academy. You don't want to miss this. You could be here just like me on a mic telling your story. Go use my affiliate code. Go. Hurry. Welcome to Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I am your host, Miss D. On this weekly show, you will tune in to discussions of different topics about today's society, culture, and adulthood. Of course, there's always juicy conversation with a little bit of love and plenty of sex. And let's not forget the stories of all relationships and the mess with relationships. Join me every week along with my friends and guests to get your dose and keep it raw on everything and anything. And remember, no topic is off limits. All right, so we're gonna start. Ready?
Ready.
Here we go.
3, 2.
1. All right, welcome back, everyone, to another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I am your host, Misty. Ooh, that was a little messed up. No?
It sounded like I've been listening.
It did? Okay, I was a little off key. I apologize. My singing skills are not up to par this week, so I will promise to do better. And this week, I have a very unexpected guest on the episode. For a lot of my listeners and followers, you guys are aware that recently I had a moment where I reconnected with a friend from after not speaking, what was it, 9 years? 9 years?
9 years.
9 years.
Yep.
9. And it was actually pretty comical how it happened. We're gonna go through that story, but I want to introduce you guys to one of my lifelong friends, my brother, best friend, essentially, who we just reconnected like we never lost touch. The one and only Rob. Welcome to my show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Let me start off by saying congratulations. It's amazing to see the things that you are doing. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
You out here getting it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there. So I have been. Thank you so much. I'm not gonna put it out there. How is it that we reconnected, found each other? Better yet, how you found me. Let me not say each other. I'm not gonna give myself credit for that. Okay. We'll dive into that, but I wanna first start because after not speaking in 9 years, right?
Right.
What better way to do this than to catch up, right? And so anybody who knows this show knows I have an icebreaker for almost every episode, except the ones by myself, because that makes no sense for me to ice break with myself. But this week I want to break the ice with my very good longtime friend. This or that. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you. I have 10 questions. Okay. Well, they're not really questions. It's just like, a this or that. And I need you to be very honest with your answer. And you should be able to answer immediately. Okay?
Okay.
And if you have to give me a disclaimer of any kind, just just give a good reason, okay?
All right, shoot.
All right. So the first one. Kit Kat or Twix?
Oh, Twix.
Henny or Douce?
I don't drink, you know that.
But it doesn't matter. Like, do you like the commercials? Do you like how the bottles look? What's wrong? I know you don't drink. That wasn't the point. Jesus, bro.
Never seen a Henny or Douce commercial. I'm gonna say Douce because I support Jay-Z.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that. Thank you. He just killed my whole number 2 vibe. All right.
I'm sorry.
Number 3, Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Number 4, High 97 or Power 105.1?
Analizado.
Number 5, Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Number 6. I know you're drinking it. I know. I just wanted you to say it. Number 6, long hair or short hair?
Ooh.
Ooh.
For what I prefer for women?
Sure, why not?
Because remember when you met me, I used to have really long hair.
So,
So
okay, so on a woman.
on a woman, it's definitely long hair.
Okay. And in your good time, your braids, do-rag days versus now?
Definitely, I would prefer my braids.
All right.
But
Okay.
Father Time hasn't been kind to me.
Oh, yeah. I've had some hair loss. Mother time. All right. Number 7, Giants or Jets?
New York Giants, baby.
Oh,
Big blue.
okay, Big Blue. All right. Well, number 8 is gonna get a little deeper. Yankees or Mets?
I'm from the Bronx. Man, you know the
Hey,
vibes.
yeah.
New York Yankees.
Yes. Okay. Number 9, chocolate or strawberry milk?
Chocolate.
Yes.
Definitely chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to take a sip on that one. Hold on. I still got number 10. Okay, number 10. This is the good one. You ready?
Oh, ready.
Scarface or The Godfather?
I'm gonna have to say Scarface. It's more
Hey.
action. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So that's the dessert.
Can I give you one?
Oh, yes, you can actually. You're the first guest that does that. Okay, yes. Go ahead, shoot.
Sneakers or stilettos?
Oh,
What
man.
works? What works?
Stilettos. Come on. You know me. All these years, you know me. Stilettos all the way.
I remember when we first met, I wrote a rap. You remember that rap? Talking about a pair of four and a half size Air Force Ones. You was like, he's talking about
Me.
me.
I did. You did
I
write that
remember
rap.
that.
You did say that, and I was like so convinced. I'm like, he's talking about me. He's talking about me. I know it's about me. You did. You did. Those were good times.
Are you still a four and a half?
No, I'm not.
Boys?
No. I used to be, but motherhood did not do me so well. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you do. Maybe I don't know, but they say women's feet grow when you have babies.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And so at this point, I've lost hair. At this point, a, a pair of things sag a little. No longer 4.5 Air Force Ones. I mean, what can I tell you? Times have changed.
Right.
It's been a while. But this is actually dope because it flows right through. I wanted to just ice break with you a little bit. There's things in here I already knew, of course, about you. And just the other day was funny because I said, wait, your birthday's coming up. It's like this week, and I remember the date. So there's a lot I do remember about you. And the whole reason to you coming on the show and, you know, having this episode is because it is a deeper side of me. It is something that,
Okay.
It's real. It happened. Happened to the both of us. And I think that no matter how times may change or the years that go by, there's ever so often people who go through this, right?
Right.
There's a little sense of a culture these days about cutting people off or forgive or forget and shit like that. So I kind of wanted
Right.
to dive into that with you.
Okay.
So we're going to segue right into As Raw as It Gets. And this is the segment where, the show Double Dose of Raw Talk, we talk about shit on the news, controversial shit, culture shit, social media, sex, love, relationships, and relationships. And so on the basis of relationships and shits, we're going to discuss friendships, right? And I want to highlight ours, of course. And I'm going to title this one Falling Out. Now, let me be very honest with my audience, okay?
Okay.
There was a change in schedule. This recording wasn't supposed to happen until another week, but
until I was 38.
until you were 38, until you're still 37. So
That is correct.
I want, when I post this, audiogram is actually going to be the day before your birthday. So when I post it, I want everybody to wish you a happy birthday in the comments. So when you see the page, everybody's going to see it. All right. So I did this agenda. I already knew in my head what we were going to do, but I did it like literally like 10 minutes before we started recording. So we're going to title as Raza Gets Falling Out. And I want to take it back to, when was it that you and I met? Clearly we discovered that you have a far better memory than I do. Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's because I don't have any vices like that. You know, I've never experimented with drugs. I don't drink alcohol.
Oh.
So it's everything's fresh.
First of all, what he's trying to say is he's just talking about himself. He's not trying to say I'm an alcoholic, nor am I a drug addict.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
That's not what he's trying to say, guys. I just got to clear that up because the route you was going, you know, we just got to clear it up a little bit. Okay.
You've lived life way more than I do.
He's like totally throwing me under the bus here. In all fairness, I didn't come to consume any sort of substances until much later in my life.
Right.
But I was a drinker. That I was. I will admit that.
But when I met you is when you first started experimenting with.
So that was the one. Do you remember that? Okay, so I had not used anything ever, right?
Never.
You remember that? And it was when we wasn't it the Beaver Dam? So okay, let's say to the listeners where we met. We met at a camp at Dover Plains, New York, that I remember. It was called, should I say the name? No, because what if the camp still exists? I don't want people to know. Okay, it's a New York City, you know,
upstate, yeah,
community-based camp. It was in Harlem, I believe, and we went to work upstate. And
yeah, we were counselors.
We were counselors.
We were hired as counselors. Yes,
I was a counselor, and I experimented with drugs for the first time up there. This is terrible. It's disgusting. I am so ashamed of myself. It's not even funny.
You have to live life, man, because it's not. Especially the kids that we had.
Yeah. It was good for them. It was good for them. We did not let them experiment with drugs. Let me be very clear on that.
No, yeah.
But we went up there. We hung out. Was it for like 2 weeks before we actually started working with the kids? Was it like 2 weeks?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a 2.
It was like a 2 week time. We got to know each other. I believe we got to mingle, really build our friendships, and I remember.
Do you remember how we first met?
No, so I need you to say it. I need you to say that story. Yeah. Can you say it?
Well, yeah. I remember you running up to me saying, "Oh my God, look at his sack! He has the most cutest socks."
I had a thing. I have a thing for socks. I do. Right. I don't know if you remember this. I could be wearing short shorts and tank tops, so my socks got to be fuzzy, right? Because I get cold. So he had all sorts of fucking socks, like.
Yeah, it was they were soccer socks.
Soccer socks, and
I never played soccer a day in my life, but I had a lot of soccer.
He had a lot of soccer socks. So by now, I believe all my listeners should know I have an obsession with soccer players. Hence my obsession with socks, right? Yeah. So you had them, and I was just so happy because I really thought you were like a soccer player. I thought that's why you had all those socks. And then I was so dope because he had a do-rag on. So I'm like, oh my God, he's a soccer player with a do-rag on. Like, it was a whole vibe to me. And then later to find out that he was like from where I'm from. Oh, even more. You know, it was just like we were like a friendship made in heaven for sure. And
yeah, we were actually close by because I was living I was from 172nd. And you was on 174.
I was on 174.
Right?
So my listeners know that. Yeah. I was definitely from 174. Yeah. Shout out to 174, and you were from 172nd. So we were right there to each other, and we instantly clicked. We did. We had a really good bond, a really good friendship. Yep. I think we instantly had that brother-sister type of bond.
Yeah, because the personality you possess, it's something that people embrace. You know, you're the way you come off. It's addicting the way you come off. You know, and people gravitate towards you. I gravitated towards you. You know, because you was really really cool.
Yeah.
and that's what caused me to gravitate towards you, and we ended up building a positive
Yeah,
rapport.
yeah, we did. It
Yeah.
was a pretty dope summer, and he wore many soccer socks. He was not at all a
Yeah.
soccer player. Um, and we be
But you know what's the story behind the soccer socks?
say it.
Sorry to cut
No,
you
say
off,
it.
but I was a bum ass dude, so I couldn't afford the dope sneakers, so I replaced the sneakers with the socks. So I had all the dope socks with slippers, because I was always in slippers.
I can't. He's a boss. You know what? I just want to commend him for admitting that because it was tough times for you.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
19,
yeah.
I didn't know where I was going with my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up getting that job because of Mr. Jacobs. Shout out to Mr.
Shout out
Jacobs.
to Mr. Jacobs. Oh my
He's my
God.
guy. That's my guy.
You know, I don't know if
He
she
was like so
listens.
Harlem.
I don't know if she listens or if they listen, but I'm gonna give them a shout out, Miss Nanette and Miss Denise, because they do follow me on social media. They do follow my pod page. I've worked with them for so long, but they were definitely huge influencers in my life too. And they was out there with us. They was out there at the camp with us
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So
The beautiful thing about the camp is that they hired people from all over the
they
world,
did.
and it was a place where me and you both
Hmm.
got to experience different
Yes,
cultures
we
and,
did.
and different nationalities,
Yes.
and that to me was the best part.
Yeah.
That to me right there was the best part. That's why it was my greatest summer ever.
It was my greatest summer
Summer of
too.
2002.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's so dope because I've already recorded with Shantae. You remember
right.
her?
I heard that episode.
Yes. So I
Yeah,
recorded twice with her. And that's something, from the very first episode I shared with my listeners that her and I met at camp since we were 16. I was 16 when I met her. And
right.
the same way I learned from her, I learned from you. Right.
Yeah,
And so again, we built such a great friendship. We continued our friendship after camp. You would come to my neighborhood, to my house to see me. I would just come down because my parents were strict as fuck.
yeah,
I couldn't
yeah.
be just like going out and doing my shit at 16. So he would come visit me. We would keep in contact. We're not going to say who else used to come with you because we're not talking about that person. So I don't keep in touch with him.
Shout out to Bolivia
No,
though.
not Bolivia. Yo, if he listens to
Shout
this
out to my
and he
Bolivians.
lets you know that, let me know. But you would come see me. We continued our friendship throughout the years. We've seen each other with our children. We've seen each other through our
Right,
marriages, relationships. You saw me go through a divorce. I mean, the story goes on. And
right,
then something happened. And I don't know. I'm gonna let you be as comfortable as you want. No need to give names, but to
right,
say, I guess, the general overview of what it is that happened, if you
right.
like.
Well, basically, what had basically happened was I accused you of something,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what was really going on. I was seeing someone, and basically the relationship that I had with that person wasn't going in the positive direction. So I was at the point where we were going to separate.
Mm-hmm.
But when I introduced you to her, you guys like became the best of besties.
Yes, we did.
And I remember that so clearly because you guys would like have so many conversations, and I'm like, yo, but that's my friend. Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So, you guys built a really great rapport,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, I accused you of spying on me on with her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's basically what happens. And you told me specifically it wasn't you, and I did not believe you for a second.
Yeah.
And it came, several years later, she ended up telling me who it was, which was one of my right hand friend, one of my right hand men,
Yeah.
one of my closest friends that were spying on me for her.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad because I knew the truth, and I knew it had to be my duty to reconcile with you eventually.
Yeah.
And the way 2020 is going,
It made sense.
yeah,
When did you, because I'm learning this now too.
right,
And let me just say this. I am still very good friends with this person in his life.
right,
I just saw her. I just got the memory on my time hop. I saw her the last time I was in that hometown. for
Yeah.
a conference that I went for work. I hung out with her, and
Right.
no hard feelings towards her. It is what it is. Shit happens, you know. I have nothing but love for her. And I'll share this story now. The day my divorce was final, like literally, I ran out of the courthouse when the judge said you are now divorced. And
Right.
I ran out on 164th First Street in Grand Concourse from the Supreme Court in the Bronx, and I hailed a cab. She hit me up. She was the first person who hit me up and called me to make sure that I was fine.
Right.
And I had her on the phone crying my eyes out. That's how close her and I became. It's how close,
Right.
you know, and I get when you're saying like I'm your friend, right? So like here, her and I,
Right.
we built such a close bond too. And so I could see where that could make you wonder, like, hold up a second, like she's
Yeah.
my people, you know what I mean? And so here I
Right.
am, you know, getting along with your significant other then. And so a lot of things came to your mind. Um,
Hmm.
it was I remember now that we've spoken, I remember arguing with you and
Hmm.
telling you like I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. I wouldn't do that to you. And I think one of the biggest things was that I was telling you that the way you were doing things or whatever was happening was wrong. And
Right.
I think I remember you saying, "You're supposed to be my friend." I remember you telling me that. And I was like, "I am your friend, but you're wrong." And that doesn't mean I was like
See?
doing anything wrong. Like I wasn't doing what you were accusing me of doing,
Right.
essentially. And from that day on, I don't remember exactly what you said, like towards the end of the fight. I don't
Right.
know if you do, but I don't. Okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember the argument.
Okay. Um, but I just know that I never again spoke with you. I did not text you. I did not call you. I did not instant message you. And I had you just sent me your Gmail. What did I tell you? Oh my God, that's your same AOL name. That that's
Right.
how far we go. I did not. I did not for the life of me do anything to reach out to you, but you also didn't do anything to reach out to me.
Right.
When everything came clear, what year was that? Because we stopped talking more or less, what was it, 9 years ago? So when did you clear
Right.
the air?
So I would say she ended up coming out to me to tell me the truth was in 2015, I would say.
Okay, 2015. Okay.
Yeah, 2015. And that by then, I had already moved on with another
With
person
another person.
and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But because I have a Facebook, but I don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use the Facebook. I don't log on to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just basically have an Instagram. So once me and her became friends again,
Mm-hmm.
and I followed her, I was like, Daisy's still a friend of hers, and I was shocked. And that's when I instantly send you a friend
and I
request,
and I declined it.
to you did?
That was to my private page, right?
Yes.
Okay, so my listeners know this shit too. I have my public pages for the pod and my content creator page, and then I have a personal page, a private page, and I decided to separate the
Right,
two, right? And so when you requested me, I really couldn't tell from your picture that it was you, right?
right.
And I'm like, this has to be some mofo from like who saw my fucking public pages. So now he's requesting me here. So I'm like, nope, decline. I don't accept these pages. Like I just don't. I decided to keep the private one for family. It never crossed my mind. It just never did. And next thing you know, I see the requests come in on the public pages. So I'm like, wait a minute. This guy requested me on my personal, and now he requested me on my public. I'm like, so he didn't find my public first? I was like, okay. So I left it like that. And then you hit me up in the DM. And this is when shit almost went left.
Real fast. Trust me, I was scared. I was scared.
um, so that was 2015. I saw this person of yours. If it's safe to say, you obviously have a lifelong relationship with this person still because you have children,
Right,
right?
right.
So
That is
obviously
correct.
I have love for her and have still love for your children, even though I was mad at you. And I saw them when I was at the conference in your hometown. And I told her specifically then not to tell you that I was seeing her and the kids because I was afraid that if she told you that you would tell me to stay away from them. and I see the kids.
Mm.
I was so
But
afraid.
that bothers me though, because it's like I accused you of something, but it wasn't that drastic. Like it wasn't
It
really
was
that serious.
drastic for me.
You saw it like that
I
though. I
did.
didn't see it like
And you know
that.
what it is? And we're
'Cause-
going to dive into this, but I saw it as drastic because I was accused of something that I would never do to my friend. And
right,
that's not how I move as a friend. Anybody who knows me, you know, once I'm loyal, I'm loyal. Like, I am a loyal ass bitch. And there's just, I will tell you if you're wrong. I will tell you if you fucked up. I will tell you
right,
apologize. I will tell you don't say that. I will tell you think about it. Think twice before you do something. Like, but I'm alright with you. We're gonna get
right.
arrested. We'll get arrested. Like, okay, even if I think you're wrong, I'll still get in the car with you. Like, you know what I mean? Except no drunk
Right.
driving. But Roberto doesn't drink, so it doesn't matter, right? Okay, so
I'm the
you're the
designated driver.
designated driver, right? So, you know, like that's just who I am. So for me, it hurt that you just stopped talking to me. It hurt that I no longer had my brother. You, throughout the years, you were always the first one to call me for my birthday. You were always the first one to
Right.
message me. You were always the first. You would remember all those things. And it was so hurtful, right? So I just said, you know, I told her, don't tell him because he's probably going to like, don't let her see my kids or whatever. So I was just like,
To
you know,
get
I
her
want to be
over.
able to see the kids. So don't tell him, right? And so clearly, I guess you weren't told, or I mean, I would assume so.
Yeah, she never told me.
Right.
She
Okay.
never told me.
And then, so here you come, you slide into my DMs, and his eyes are opening right now. Like, he's
'Cause I can't wait till you tell this story.
wait, I'm not, I don't even know if I should read word for word, but I'm going to go into the DM right now because I don't want to fuck this shit up. Okay. I, I don't want to fuck it up. I want to be able to say exactly how this shit went down. Okay. Let me find you because I thought this was just someone who was a listener. Okay. And he DM'd me and he goes, "Hello, Miss D. I'm a huge fan of your podcast." Right. He's laughing at me. So I'm like, amazing. Thank you. And I immediately get hit with the last time we spoke wasn't on the best terms. I believe I owe you an apology. Now, let me just say this. When a man approaches me with that form of a demeanor that he owes me an apology, if you know me as a Scorpio woman, you know I'm going to welcome an apology from a man. I don't know what you did, but I'll take the apology. Like, because I love to know when I'm right and people are wrong.
Right.
Like, that's just me, right? So I said, "When did we speak and who are you?" And then as soon as I got that apology message, I said, "Well, if you owe me an apology, make it a good one." Yo, and instantly he drops my government name. He drops my government name, Daisy C. I'm not going to say my full last name, although you're going to hear it pretty soon. Daisy C. And I said, "Who are you? And how do I know you?" And he goes, "You don't change." And that's when I was like, oh my God, like, who the fuck is he? And I'm like freaking out now. He goes, "Let's make this interesting." I was like, "Nah, let's not. Be direct. I'm a very busy woman. I'm working and producing a show." And I shut that shit down. Yo, I felt so bad when you said it was you. I felt so bad.
Yeah, because I was like, since we're already here, let's just make it interesting. And you quickly was like,
Nah,
not gonna
not
happen.
gonna happen. That's not what we're doing
And I
today.
still went with the
Yeah,
hints. Yeah, I
yeah.
still went through with the hints.
Yeah, he still went with it, and he gave me two clues. One clue was, "You love my socks," and I'm like, I love soccer players, and I love everybody's socks, and I love socks. Period. So what the hell is he talking about, right? And then he goes, "And I always whipped your behind in Uno." So a few people have learned this summer that I don't like to play Uno. He's the reason why. This is the reason why I don't like to play Uno. I feel like I'm always set up when I play Uno because of you, because of your ass, because you will always whip my ass while we played Uno. So this is why I don't play Uno. And I was just like, I don't know who it is. And when you said it was you, when you said it's Roberto, I instantly started crying. I started texting you in capital letters. I'm not even gonna lie. I cry. I said my chest was killing me. I was like, you are a listener. And then I just said, you left me so hurt. And like a very scorned Scorpio woman, I just went in on his ass.
Yeah, yeah. And I sent you the watery eye emoji.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. I legit at that moment for that split second, I forgot what we were angry with each other about. I forgot why we have fought. I forgot why we didn't speak all these years. I did not remember any of that. At that moment, I was just so happy to hear from you, to know it was you, to see that you looked for me, to see that we had a moment and you instantly said I'm sorry, and it was like, okay, I forgive you. And I'm here like ugly crying on my side of the phone. And I wanted to get very transparent with this shit because I've talked about this on my show before. I talked about, me going scissor happy ever so often and then just cutting people
Right,
off. I recently did a bonus episode with my closest friends, my closest girlfriends, margaritas, cards, and letting go. That's what I titled it. And we talk
right,
about like some friendships that are 20 plus years that just don't make it, right? And I wanted to dive deep into this because I feel like we're in a culture and a society of friendship and relationships where we are not so forgiving anymore.
right,
Forgive and forget is not something that we ever so often talk about as a possibility. Some people say, I may forgive you, but I won't forget. And I'm one of those people, right? And with you, it was just instant for me to just forgive. I already forgot. You're the one who brought up reminding me what is it that happened, because I was
right.
just like, I don't even remember. And you gave me the formal apology. And I wanted to dive into this with you because one of the things I wondered was, why so long? I know this person came clean to you years later, but then look at where we are today. It still took you how long to look for me?
Right.
Do you think that sometimes, it's ego or it's stubbornness that maybe stopped you, or what was it that stopped you from taking that first step?
It wasn't any of that. No, it wasn't any of that. I just think the timing wasn't right. When she confessed me the what really happened, it wasn't at the right it wasn't the right moment to reconcile right then
Okay.
at that time. But I've always had you in the back of my head, especially every November, because I know you turn up for sure every November, you
He's
know,
gonna make me cry.
and uh, but when me and this lady ended up building a better relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw you and I saw your page,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hesitate to send you a friend request, because to me personally, we had a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
It wasn't anything where like you stole anything from me. Like, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't that drastic. It was just basically a misunderstanding,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And even if you were the person, like, I would have still eventually reached out, later on, and be like, yo, just forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a lot of brothers and sisters. I don't have a positive relationship with any of them,
Mm-hmm.
because I move differently,
Mm-hmm.
so I cherish my relationship with my friends more.
Yeah.
I consider my friends my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah.
Like I have my one friend, Andre Drede. He texts me every morning. Good morning, my brother. Let's
Yeah.
go out and let's get it.
Yeah.
And I met him on Selwyn in 172nd, and we met in 1996, and we're still friends even up to this
Yeah.
day. So it's something that I cherish more, is my friendships,
Yeah.
than I do more than anything else.
Yeah.
So I would have reached out eventually, whether if you were that person or not.
Yeah. I
But I'm happy that you weren't that person. Because I'm a Libra, so it's easier for me to detach myself from things.
no.
Yeah.
I
So
always say
I would just.
the Libras are the cousins to the Scorpios. I always say that. I have so many
Mhm.
Libras in my life who I absolutely adore and love and cherish. You share the birthday with my sister Patty. And
Right.
like, I know for a fact you are the type who cherishes his friendships. I know your history with your siblings. I knew all of that. And I legit
Right.
always felt like I was treated like your sister. I felt that. I always did. And so I have to agree with you. It ended up being a misunderstanding. It was a very unfortunate assumption. It was an unfortunate situation. Um, and not so much, not only a misunderstanding, but also maybe a miscommunication, because I think we ran too quick with being angry and then immediately went into silent treatment. The both of
Right.
us. The both of us.
Both of us.
And because I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I could have easily looked for you too. And I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm not looking for him. Fuck that shit. I got too much pride. Even and at that point, I was then the person, like back then I was the type of woman that woman person, um, that even if I was wrong, I wasn't always good at admitting it. So even worse at that moment, knowing that I wasn't wrong, that I knew I wasn't lying, you think that this woman was going to admit her wrong or put her pride to the side and still try to look for someone? Like, I wasn't gonna do that. That's not what Daisy does. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me it was like I was resentful. I was very, very hurt. I was very angry. And I didn't feel so much like betrayed because you didn't talk to me anymore. But it was feeling betrayed because I was called out of being of a character that wasn't me. And that in fact,
Right.
like, I didn't do anything, you know?
Yeah,
So go
which
ahead.
justified your reaction. That justified the reaction and the way you moved
Right.
after those years.
Right. And that's why I wanted to bring that up. I think, if I could have done things different, because when we stopped talking, it was 9 years ago. So essentially, I'm going to be 35. So that was when I was like 24, 25, right? 24, 25. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about
I
right.
was pretty grown. I could have possibly done things a little different then. I could have possibly still insisted, if this brother of mine, this friendship that we had meant so much, maybe I could have done things different. And I think back on that, right? And I want to admit that maybe that is one of my regrets, knowing what I know today. Knowing knowing that I've actually held on to friendships that all along never served me, all along were shitting on me, all along were horrible to me. And here was just one simple misunderstanding. I've forgiven throughout the years friendships that were in an essence terrible, bad, negative friendships. They should have I should have never forgiven them so many times because of the level of shit that they did, or the magnitude of it, or the multiple times. And so when I think back to, was that worth it? Was that not? I probably could have done better with you too, because in essence that was the only time we had an issue in the years of being
Right.
friends.
That's exactly correct. Yep.
You know?
That's the one thing that I took away, that we've never had any type of issues,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that was just the only one that happened. Which it bothered me a little bit when you told me that you went to the
Yeah.
conference and you met up with them, and but I'm like, but why didn't you just tell
You
him
did.
tell
You
me?
did.
We could have reconciled
What was that?
3 years ago, right? It
Three
was
years ago.
3 years
3
ago.
years
We could
ago.
have reconciled, and we could have been chilling.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Like, that would have been probably another opportunity where I could have said, "Nah, just tell him like I'm coming to see you and the kids. Let him know." I think I
Yeah.
remember asking her like if you were okay, and I remember her saying yeah, but I didn't ask too much because that's also me. Like, I'm a nosy ass bitch, and I'll be listening to whatever people want to tell me. But I don't always just ask too much. Like, I don't
Right.
always ask like too much. Like, especially, knowing
Yeah.
like you guys having your own continued relationship for the children. I didn't want to overstep my boundaries. But I knew you were doing okay,
Right.
And I just think it's important just to put out there, the whole concept of having too much pride, or the whole concept of later having several regrets. Being in the age of the mid 20s to now being in the mid 30s, of what was then childish to what is now, quote unquote responsible. And I wanted to shine light on our story of our friendship and our reconciliation, because you are that person in my book who I find to be worthy, you know,
Right.
forgiving and forgetting, and just moving on and just picking up where we left off and having my friend back. And that segues actually very perfectly into the double or nothing segment. This is my segment where we keep it raw on another dose and we just, go a little deeper on the main topic of conversation. And it's definitely going to be on the forgiving and forgetting piece. And keeping it raw. As I mentioned before, I've always been very scissor happy. I already detailed that I've had a tendency to cut people off when I realized that they no longer serve me any good purpose in my life or my friendships or my relationships, or I can no longer keep them as a frenemy because I do believe that frenemies exist. Okay. And I wanted to dive deeper in the fact of how do you find the balancing act these days where we are in our 30s? We already said you're 37, you're going to be 38. I'm going to be 35. How do we find the balancing act of who's worth it with forgiving and forgetting? And when do we decide that the right decision for a particular person is to never look back? Especially for you, that you're someone who really cherishes his friendships. Like, what is that breaker for you? Like, where does that act no longer balance?
Well, it basically it has to be a mutual thing, right? Like you have to reach out to somebody and they have to reach out back.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as it's mutual beneficial for the both of you guys, then it's something worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Because me and you, we spent a lot of hours on the phone
Mm-hmm.
back in those days.
Yeah.
Like Blockbuster was still open. I remember walking to Blockbuster
Yes.
and just be on the phone with you for hours, like asking you what type of movie should I get,
Hence the
I
Scarface and the
remember,
Godfather.
yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I remember having those long talks,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we would do podcasts every day over the phone,
Yeah, we did.
you
We
know.
basically did. We were like co-hosts every single day.
Yeah,
Every day we would talk for
exactly.
hours
Yep.
at a time. We really not only built a friendship, but we maintained our friendship regardless of where we lived, regardless of our. Remember, I was 16 when we met. So
Right.
you're going to be 30, I'm going to be 35. You're 3 years older. So essentially, you are an
Right.
adult. I'm still a minor.
Mhm.
My parents were already flipping that my boyfriend was older than me. You remember that? They was already
Yes, I
flipping
do.
out over that. Like they was so pissed at me that he was like a whole ass adult and I was still a fucking kid. So it's for me to bring them another guy friend and then he's an adult. They're looking at me like, Daisy, what the fuck are you doing? Right. So you and I used to talk a lot on the phone and you would always like just like guide me, give me advice, like Daisy, don't fuck up, Daisy, stay focused, you're gonna go to college, like
Yeah.
you're gonna like
Yeah.
you would always talk
Yeah.
to me like that, right?
Right.
And like I think because of that, I think I have to agree with you, is like, yeah, 9 years passed, but I knew instantly, like instinct. And instantly it was like, nah, it doesn't matter anymore. Like I got my brother back. I literally said that. I
Right.
have my brother back. Like he's back. And we're gonna be fine and we're gonna be good. I think where in today's society we have a little bit of an issue with this. And I want to shine light on this, right? Because I do think that maybe
Right.
sometimes we might be a little childish or we might be a little bit irresponsible. Let me not say childish. Let me say immature. Let me say mature. We're in our fucking 30s. Let me say
Sure.
mature. We
Right.
are a little
Yeah.
bit immature. We are a little bit irresponsible where we do let mishaps, misunderstandings, miscommunications get so much in the way that we allow it to fuck up some real, organic, genuine, naturally grown, connected friendships over some dumb shit.
Yeah.
And then we find ourselves forgiving too many times some of the most toxic friendships and relationships we could have ever possibly allowed to be in our lives. And I think
That
that
is correct.
not everybody has that balancing act. Not everybody figures
Mm-hmm.
that part out. And I wanted to put that on the table because I think that had I not figured that out recently, I don't know if I would have been able to just forgive and forget. And I don't know if we would have been able to just reconnect and pick up where we left off.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. The other piece of it is even though I've discovered this, right? I shared this with you, and I'm not going to give too much detail on this, but I did share this with you. I find myself once again struggling with a specific relationship friendship that I don't know where it stands right now. I don't
Okay.
know if to totally let it go, walk away, and never look back, or forgive or forget, even if I keep it at a distance. And even in
Okay.
mid 30s, figuring a lot of shit out. This is still like troubling me. And I think I told you this. I said, I was so emotional crying that you and I reconnected that I felt somewhere in the universe, this is a sign to me, right? That if this relationship is in fact, this friendship is in fact completely over and there's no going back, at least I have you back now. Like I feel like it was meant to be just this way. But it's still a struggle for me. It's still a struggle for me.
Right.
So I'm asking of you, like, I get what you're saying. Like, if you keep in contact, if you still have that bond, like, some of those are worth it. But is there anything in your life, being that you cherish your friendship so much, right? Your boy Andre, you guys talk every day. Like it's like you're each other's hype man still, right? Every single day.
Hmm.
That's your boy since
Right.
'96. Like, what would you say is it that really highlights to someone when you know a friendship is worth fighting for, or you know a friendship is worth maintaining?
Yeah, it's basically comes down to communication,
Mm,
right? You have to communicate both ways, and even when there's a disagreement, you have to make sure that you come to the table and sort things out
mm-hmm.
and communicate and find out what's going on.
Yeah,
Like you're talking about the relationship that you're in limbo.
yeah,
Try to reach out to that person and see what's going on. See if you could still mend the friendship
mm-hmm.
more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because we live in a life where things don't work out. Like if you look at the divorce rates is crazy.
Right.
And it's just the type of life. It's just the type of world that we live in.
Mm-hmm. It is.
We're living in a different, completely society
It is.
where it's mainly driven by social media.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you already know how I
So
feel about that. You already know how I feel. And you know what's crazy? I'm glad you brought up divorce rates because essentially, like when friendships break up, especially friendships of a lot of years, it feels like that. It feels like
yeah,
it's
exactly.
that bad of a fucking loss. Like I feel like I've lost a whole ass relationship, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I agree.
Another thing that I wanted to highlight because of what you just said with the communication piece. When you do come to speak to someone, right? When it's like eggshells, like walking on eggshells sometimes. Or when you think like, is this like, for example, when you said you knew back then it wasn't the time to reconcile yet, right?
Right.
Like timing is everything. But I also believe that sometimes it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. Okay.
Right.
And very transparently, I'm gonna ask for your advice on this because that's something I struggle with. I'm not always so good these days with my delivery of what I'm trying to say. I'm having a hard time admitting this, but I'm gonna admit it. I, I'm not always so great. What did I tell you? Nah, let's be direct. Cut your shit. I didn't even
Yeah.
know who the fuck you were
Yeah.
at that point, and I was just like, I'm
Exactly.
shutting this shit down, right? But do you think that that has a greater impact on whether or not a relationship can reconcile or people can come at peace or mend their friendships? So much so, like, not necessarily what you're saying, but the how you say it. Like, if you come off with an attitude or with aggression or more angry to address the situation, is that going to be successful or not? Or do you think it's just like, yo, we're in our 30s, like, just get the fuck over it?
Yeah, it's the way you deliver the message is basically um, where the steps go to for that person receiving it.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you express yourself has to be in a positive light.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how they'll receive it. If it's positive, they're gonna receive it positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you come off in the positive. And it could just easily start off as simple as, hey, can we talk? And then just get together and then see. Because if you guys had a good relationship
Mm-hmm.
before, a simple conversation can mend anything.
Right.
It's just a conversation. It's just a conversation,
Right.
just to figure out where are we going, what's going on. That's something that me and you both failed to
Yeah,
do,
we did fail.
and we ended up losing 9 years of our lives,
Yeah. 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 Pretty
you
much.
know,
Yeah, we did.
because of that. Yeah, yeah.
Were you hesitant? Like, I know you knew you were going to reach out this time, but were you scared of how I was gonna react? Were you like thinking like, no, and Daisy, she's a fucking
No,
firecracker. She gonna come off like what was going through your
no,
thoughts?
no. Because the worst thing you could be like, nah, I'm good. Like, nah, go left. It could have been just that simple, and I'm like, at least I tried,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on until you shoot your shot.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, so I was like, let me just try and reach out because I know for sure that we've had a really good bond. You
Yeah.
know, especially all those long conversations that we had on the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and me coming to the Bronx to visit you because I used to live out of state at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, he would come all the way to the
Yeah.
Bronx. When he says he lived out of state, he don't mean New Jersey, guys.
Or
Or
Connecticut,
Connecticut.
right? Or
He
Connecticut.
lived out of state. And he used to come to see me to visit.
Yeah,
Legit. Legit.
yeah.
Absolutely. I wondered
Yeah,
if
and
you were afraid to approach me. I wonder if you.
no, that was never an issue. Like I said before, I believe that the disagreement that me and you had wasn't excessive.
Yeah.
You know, especially knowing the truth.
Yeah.
You know, afterwards, and that's basically what I took from it.
I have another question for you. And I know I didn't put this in the agenda.
Oh,
But no, okay, so now I know you wasn't like hesitant or afraid. Um, but were you wondering if I would even like respond? Because that's another thing. That's another issue. You know that whole concept of people leave you unread, or you know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, were you even thinking that I might even go that route?
well, that's why I approached it the way I approached it. I s- I started off with like, hey, I'm a huge fan of the podcast. Waiting for you to get that. Once you gave me that response, you saw that I went all in.
You
You
did.
know, I was like, okay, so I got her response. So then I replied with, oh, listen, the last time we spoke wasn't on the best of
So
terms.
what Rob just admitted was he strategized with his
Exactly,
approach to me.
and it worked.
It did
It
work because I
worked,
was like,
yeah.
oh my god, amazing, thank you.
No, but I never noticed that you rejected my friend request on your personal
Oh,
page.
that's because IG don't tell people that.
Oh, they
No,
don't? Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Instagram did.
It just kept saying requested.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just kept saying
No,
requested.
so
Yeah.
I reject. Okay, so shit. I think a lot of listeners might have requested me there, and they know I didn't accept them, and I'm just like, you're like, no, denied. Um,
No, but the way I saw it was because I noticed that you had your personal page,
mhm.
then you had the podcast
Yeah,
page, then you had the Miss D
yeah,
page.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, she's probably busy over here with the personal and
No, no, I'm
the
not. I'm not
podcast
gonna
page.
lie to you. I completely declined you. I was like, I don't know who the fuck he is. He
No, but the way I saw it was you busy over here. You
busy.
don't have no
Yeah,
time for the
yeah,
personal
yeah,
stuff because you're trying to get the bag.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
You
am.
know,
I am.
so
I keep the personal because it's
and
still like, well, you already saw how the page looks. All the babies are on there. My godchildren. It's mostly because of my godchildren, my goddaughters, my godsons. My son. There's a lot more pictures of my
your
son. A
son,
lot of
yeah,
personal moments. Like I'm trying to get comfortable with sharing a lot of that on the public page, but I'm still hesitant, not because I'm hiding anything from my listeners or followers. It's just a lot of these kids didn't ask to be on a public forum, and I know their parents have
right,
private pages. And so, as a godmother, as an aunt, I just feel like I have a certain level of commitment to respect that bond that I have with their parents and with the children.
right,
So that's really why I'm selective with who I've opened. And believe it or not, there's a lot of virtual friends that I've developed such strong bonds with that they've have requested me and I've accepted them. It's not a matter of not accepting them. I've built that relationship with them and I feel like I know they come with genuine hearts. And I
right.
feel comfortable with them looking at that page. It's not about hiding anything. It's just, there's kids there. And so I'm just very particular when it comes to the kids. So
Yeah, makes sense.
even though like very very nicely Rob's page, he has one of his babies on it. I was like, I don't know if this guy is like trying, when guys use babies to get like attention from bitches, like
Oh
I was
my
like, I don't know if he got this
goodness.
shit there so girls will like accept his request and shit. Like I didn't know. So when I saw your request, I was just like, now and then your name, which I'm not gonna say it unless you tell me I could tag you, right? But the name of your IG handle, I was like, who the fuck does guy think he is? So that's when I was just like, nah, I'm not accepting it. But then, you went to the public pages. And so I was like, okay, maybe he's a fan. I don't know. Like, it was just so confusing at that point. Um, before we segue into the last segment, I want to make it clear. I just feel like this is something, I know we're just one in probably a million cases in the whole world of
Right.
friendships that have fallen out. And, to many listeners, it's probably like, how significant is this for me? But you never know when there's people out there who are going through shit, and it may cause friction or it may cause issues in their friendships and the relationships that they have around them. To the point where this is established, there was something that was going on in your life that made you question
In my
things,
life,
right?
exactly.
And
Yep.
I wasn't understanding that at that point. I just
Yeah.
got offended,
And I wasn't expressing it. Yeah, I
right?
wasn't expressing it.
You wasn't,
I was just seeing black.
right,
I was just seeing nothing but black.
right. So you were just like lashing out. I was just the innocent bystander who got, who got hit with it, and it is what it is, right? And
Which justified the way you reacted.
right, right. And so for me, I just feel like this just something I've learned today. I'm 34. I'm gonna be 35 in a little over a month, right? And the value of friendships and relationships has not gone unnoticed, especially this year in 2020. I've lost family members who I've spoken to, family members who I haven't spoken to due to coronavirus, due to COVID.
Right.
Um, and something you learn is like this year, and we should really be learning this every day of our lives, but learning it, especially this year, and being in the industry that I work in with my career, which is healthcare. Um, you see the epitome of life is short and how quick in a blink of an eye that shit could change. And you can sometimes lose people without even being able to apologize or to ask for forgiveness. And I've always thought about you. Every October, I've thought about you. And I'm not going to get
Yeah,
emotional.
especially that me and Patty
Yeah,
share the
you
same
got the
birthday.
same birthday. And I'm not going to get emotional. I'm holding it together because I could cry at the drop of a fucking pin when it comes to you. Um but I do think that what we've been through as a society this year definitely has a lot to do with why I no longer gave a fuck as to what happened between us. It has just
Right.
been like the greatest joy to know that you were okay and that you wanted to mend the friendship with me and that you looked for me. And I, at that point, no longer cared what happened. And
Right.
like, listen, this episode is going to live forever on this podcast. So I'm going to make it very clear, like, we're never again not going to speak ever again. Like, because it's 9 years of shit that has happened in my life. It's 9 years that I went through a lot of crazy times. Again, I'm trying not to cry. And I really just could have used my friend during all those years. And I could have really,
Right.
you just have this way. And you've always had this way with me as my brother. And
Hmm.
I think sometimes, like, now that we've reconciled, I feel like, could your guidance and your help have been more impactful and steered me in a better direction than what it did. But then
Right.
that would be living with so much regret. And shit happens for a reason in the certain way that it does. And I can't tell you just how happy I am that even if it was through I'm a huge fan of your show, if it was a simple podcast, and just the way things worked out, just so happy that we are back to how we were before.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
am.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could say the same thing that I don't believe that we're ever going to get to that point where, because we're adults now.
Yeah.
Now we could definitely talk things out. We could communicate.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that now for sure I know that you're not spying on
I'm not
anybody.
spying on you. Well, no, no, no. Hold on. I'm gonna be a grown ass woman and admit I am a very good FBI agent when I need to be. Okay. I could spy. I know how to.
I think that's women's best, one of
Yes,
women's best traits.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Let me say the truth. Okay, I do spy. Okay, don't act like I can't see your phone passcode because I'm seeing. I'm gonna go through your phone at some point. But what I'm saying is, at that moment, I was certainly not the spy when it came to your
Right.
situation. And that's the part I also wanted to put out there. And I know I said it before earlier in the show, and I'm gonna say it again. a true friend, somebody who really fucks with you, somebody who really rides with you, just because they tell you you're wrong or just because they tell you you fucked up or anything like that, it doesn't mean that they're crossing you, and it doesn't mean that they're not being real with you. It just means that they're being truthful to you and they're telling you the truth about yourself at the moment. It doesn't make them any less your friend or doesn't mean that they're not going to ride with you anymore. And I just needed to put that disclaimer in there. Because I don't think people understand that.
Well, in life, right? When you have two best friends, and one best friend is dating a woman, right, or a guy,
Mm-hmm.
and if they see that that person cheating, and they approach their friend like, "Yo, I think Shorty over there moving left,"
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to take it well,
Yeah.
especially if they're in like super love with that
Mm-hmm.
um, significant other.
Yeah.
So it works the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like people go through it every day.
Yeah.
So you telling your best friend that their significant other is having an affair could end your friendship with that
Yeah.
person,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
depending on how they take
Yeah.
it.
And that was definitely the
So
miscommunication we had. That was it. That was exactly it. It was just a
yep.
moment where there was a bad assumption made, and that's that.
And it was my duty to reach out.
Yes.
It was definitely my duty to
Yes.
reach
Because
out, which I ended up
I
doing.
sure as fuck wasn't going to do it. No matter how much I thought about you, no matter how much I missed my brother Rob, no matter how much, I wasn't gonna do it. That's the part of me
Ah,
that's the part of me that in these 35 years of life I've still not learned how to change. But it's
right.
not gonna be me. No, it's not. And I know you just gave me advice. You say, reach out to the person. Maybe you could about that friendship relationship that I told you I'm struggling with. I know you gave me that advice, and I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna sit on it. I'm gonna see if it's gonna go that route. I'm gonna see. I'm still feeling it out, but I can't promise you that I will. It's still.
Yeah, because it goes back to what you were saying, that life is so short, and because of that, you have to make the decision of what's worth saving. You know, that's basically what it comes down to.
He just put me in the spot. I know. I'm going to think about this. We're going to segue right into the last segment. This is newly
Okay.
revamped. It is now called Overdose. And this is the raw rants of all the shit we are pissed about and or completely over. Right. And so I wanted to just ask you real quick if there's anything that you're completely pissed about that you want to get off your chest, or anything you're over, like you're completely like, I'm over this shit, anything at all.
Not that I could personally think of.
I know you don't, because you're just a better human being than I am. That's why. That's why. Because I got shit to say. Um,
let loose.
I'm gonna let loose. I'm gonna let loose. So, speaking of broken relationships of all sorts, right? And how that has a lot to do with trust. Okay, trust is essential in a lot of these friendships and relationships and shit like that. I don't know if you have ever been a fan of reality TV. Have you ever watched reality TV? Ever so often?
Well, is it really reality?
All of it is edited, right? Have you heard of Love and Hip Hop New York?
I have
Okay,
I
all
have
right.
heard
So
yes,
my good Scorpio sis, Erica Mena, in her early years in Love and Hip Hop New York, she was in a relationship with Rich Dollars, and they got into a
right.
huge fight in the studio because I think he gave her song away. Because in actuality, sis was not the best singer ever. And she was crying hysterical. She was yelling at him, all passionate like a true Scorpio, right? And she says you can't trust nobody, not even the man you sleeping with, right? Your eyes are popped open, right? And so
Right.
sometimes I think to myself, damn, that's fucked up. Like, because, like there's so many marriages out there. Like, and these women, they trust the marriage. These women trust like the men they're sleeping with, their husbands, their spouses, their partners, right? You want to build partnerships with people. But guess the fuck what? She wasn't entirely wrong. Sort of. And I'm going to tell you why.
So
I'm going to tell you why. Since you picked Netflix over Hulu, have you seen American Murder, The Family Next Door, or have you heard of it?
I've seen it.
Okay. Okay. I have to get this shit off my chest. This son of a bitch, who goes the way he doesn't cry. So this is the story of Scott and Shannon Watts. It was a murder that occurred around August 13, 2018. Basically, they were having trouble in their marriage, right? He was cheating. And she had gone away to be with her parents in another state. They had an issue going on between their marriage. She comes back. And then suddenly, from one day to the next, after she comes back from like this business trip, she goes missing. Her and the girls. They had 2 little girls and she was pregnant.
Two little girls, yeah.
Okay.
And she
And
was pregnant.
everybody's like looking for her, like the whole 9 years. Everybody's sorry. And this man shows absolutely no fucking emotion. He doesn't cry not once. Okay. He's so cold, so cold. And you can see in the documentary, like body cameras from the cops, like the way his face looks. And this is supposed to be her spouse, her husband, her partner, like the father to these little girls. He has no emotions. He's just such a cold motherfucker. And then what's worse, this is where it got me. Okay, my man sits down to take this polygraph test.
I remember that.
He sits down to take this test and he's mad chill, like, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I'm gonna.
And the detective told him, "Listen, if you know you're gonna fail it,
Yes.
let's just skip it." And he was like, "No, we'll
He's
take
like, no, I
it."
could take it. Like, no, sir. Did you think like if you know how when you get nervous or like you curl your toes or like, you cleaning your hands on your pants, you stop sweating, or like, some people like they shake their leg. I'm a leg shaker, right? Like, did you think if you held that down, like the polygraph test results were gonna be different? Did you think that? And one of the things that like really stood out to me, and this is, I wanted to rant on this shit because I know a lot of people like, and I know it's just Erica Mena, and I know it's quote unquote reality TV, but a lot of people came for her with some of the dramatic, brutal shit my girl Erica Mena be saying. And when she said it, I did question. I'm like, damn, that's kind of fucked up to say that, right? Because like, what you're trying to say about every relationship that's out there, every union, every marriage, like, there's a lot of trust in a lot of these relationships. But then you see a fucking story like that, and this fucking bastard, he killed his wife and his kids. That's what he did because he was having a whole ass affair, because he was living a double life. He didn't care at that moment about his relationship. He didn't care at that moment about his children. He didn't care anymore about nobody. He only cared about himself. And not that I'm saying that that's what's going to happen in our relationships. I'm just saying there are some gruesome motherfuckers out there. Okay. And this is why it's so huge to me. The word trust is so huge to me. The meaning of it. There are some people who just take advantage of it. There are some people who really value it. And then I'm not going to go too far, right? I didn't have an experience of any form of physical domestic violence, but I did have a little bit of the emotional and the mental. And I shared it on a previous episode 29, Fight or Flight, right? And in seeing the text messages that they showed in the documentary of what was going on between them, he was very manipulative towards her. He played so much with her mind. Like, oh, I love you, beautiful. I miss you. I want you back. Come back. This and that. But then he was treating her so bad, so neglectful, And I think that sometimes those are signs too. And I think that, whether it's the woman going through it or even the man, because we've heard some crazy ass stories, like in the show Snapped, some of these bitches be killing their husbands, like poisoning them and shit. Like, it's a serious factor in a lot of these relationships. And I needed to get this off my chest because I don't think a lot of people take it seriously. I don't think a lot of people pay attention to it. And sometimes you do have to pay attention to the shit. Sometimes you do have to, even if you're remaining in a relationship, whether it's a lover's relationship or a friendship. You hear sometimes stories of friends killing a friend. Okay? You got to watch out for signs. You got to watch out for certain things. You have to be careful, your eyes wide open. In this world, I think there are friendships and relationships that are worth fighting for, fixing, mending, getting them back on track. But then with that same passion, I think there's also room for just being aware, keeping your eyes open, trusting your instincts, knowing how to move in which environment. And I just needed to get that shit off my chest.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure if you would have talked to her, the lady Shannon, I believe
Shannon was her name, yeah.
Yeah, and she would have never in a million years expected that outcome.
No, yeah,
to happen.
you're right.
Yeah. And I had to end up turning it off right when he was admitting to killing the two little girls.
Yeah.
Like I had to turn it off at
Yeah.
that point.
Because you have two little girls. You have two little ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have more than just two little ones, but I'm saying like,
And,
like you have two little ones, like,
yeah.
and it's hurtful. It's hurtful. It's hurtful to even imagine that there are people out there in the world who would do such a thing. One of the things I do think, for some people it's a little bit more gruesome than educational. I do have the eye and the stomach to watch certain shows like this. So even though sometimes I need a little bit of a break because they may be a little bit too much, I do think it's important to understand it. And I do think it's important to even educate yourself in situations like this. Like, you can't trust everyone. Like, I'm a single mother. I have a son. And even with him, I've always been so protective of who comes around him or who I've introduced him to or who I've allowed to meet him. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've always had in me since I became a single mother. Because while I do think it's beautiful that you can have that one person or a few people who you can trust and have great relationships with and great friendships with, that doesn't mean you should just go around just trusting everybody and anybody. When it comes to her, God rest her soul and her children, I think you're right. I think she never saw this coming, not in a million years, that he would turn on her like this, and especially towards the kids. I don't know what in the right mind this man thought that he had as a smart move to get out of whatever he thought he was in, to do this to his wife and his kids. But it's devastating that there are people in this world that are like this. And sometimes, we do have to learn about it. We do have to be cautious about it to know what the fuck we're dealing with. And that's it. Like, it's real. It's out in society and it happens. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Are you planning to finish watching the documentary? Because I am.
I seen it already.
Oh, you did finish watching. You just cut it off.
Yeah, I just cut it off. It was like 2 or 3 minutes when he was confessing to how he killed the kids.
So it's funny because that's where I stopped too. That's where I stopped.
Yeah, that's exactly when I stopped. I was like, I can't watch that.
I've had to stop
and
a few
the lady,
times.
she was the individual that she posted everything on social media.
Everything, right?
Everything on social media. She was one of those.
Yeah. This makes me want to not post so much anymore.
No, but like how you said, you have your personal account for the family, and then you have your
Yes. I mean, sometimes you just have to keep the two separate. Sometimes you just until you fully feel comfortable, and then when you feel comfortable, you know what you're risking. Because I don't know if anybody peeped this and caught this, but they met because he was a simple friend request on Facebook. Yeah. So she never knew him. She never met him. And I'm not, listen, I'm not going to try and go back and be like, oh, this motherfucker was plotting to find a wife and kill her eventually. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say or I'm alluding to.
Yeah, because in the beginning, he was a really good guy.
Allegedly.
No, he was a really good guy in the beginning. Like the lady was the one that wore the pants.
Okay, so do you think he just snapped?
I think once he found a lover, that's when his head started going loud.
In the good words of a very wise woman who I'm choosing not to say, some men ain't shit. And he's definitely one of those. I mean, because he just took it too fucking far. God rest their soul again. He murdered his wife and his children. And he's just pure disgusting for that. And is he dead? I can't remember. Did he?
He should have gotten the.
He should have, right?
He should have gotten the death penalty.
Yeah, I remember they were pushing for that and he didn't. Right.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, listen, I wanted to get this off my chest. Clearly, I'm still emotional about it. It's one of the newest things I've come across, and it just puts so much into perspective. The whole concept of relationships, friendships, lovers, like the whole nine. It just puts so much into concept for me. Also about trust. Like I said in the beginning, I'm a loyal ass bitch, whether it's a friend or a lover, and. Sometimes you just have to keep your eyes open for certain things and just really be so intuitive and trust your instincts when it comes to who's worth it and who's not, honestly.
Right.
Any last words for my listeners and my audience?
There's a show that I've been watching. I don't know if you got a chance to check up on. It's called The Vow. I
have not started, but I did see it. I have a confession. I thought it was the movie The Vow.
No. Time out.
So, but what is it about? Fill us in on
the documentary. It's basically about the sex cult NXIVM.
That's what it's about. Oh,
Yeah,
see,
it
now I
starts
gotta
calling
watch
next to
it. I
me.
have seen it when I be like searching what to watch. I really thought it was that
Yeah.
movie, The Vow, with was
No,
his
it's a documentary.
Magic Mike's
It's a
fine
10-part
self
documentary.
and Rachel McAdams. Don't make that face. He was fine as fuck. I mean, he's not naked in that movie, but well, he is naked in that
I never
movie.
saw it. I never
Be
saw
careful.
it.
There's a lot of scenes, a few of them with them getting it. It's a very beautiful movie, by the way. It is.
I'll put it in my
In your
recommendation.
recommendation. I can't get over the fact that you remembered you would talk to me while you were on your way to Blockbuster. And you just basically told all my listeners how fucking old we really are. Like, if you remember Blockbuster, I hope that under the audiogram you post your days of your best memory at Blockbuster. Matter of fact, that might just make this an IG story question. How about that? How about that? That's what we're
I
gonna do.
had a Sprint phone when Sprint was actually dropping the little pins.
I can't. I'm done. I remember that too. I can't. I'm done. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having this intense conversation, this meaningful conversation with you. I'm so happy you came on the show. I'm sure there's going to be a reason for you to come back on the show someday. When everything is forgiven and forgotten and we could really just chop it up about some other crazy shit. And yeah, I'm so grateful you are back. Really back. And you get to see this
Thank you
side
so
of
much.
this side of Daisy.
Yeah, I've listened to about 12 episodes so
Okay,
far,
okay.
so I
All
still
right.
got some more catching up to
He
do.
got a lot more catching up. I'm gonna tell you guys something. He messages me sometimes. Can I say like how you reacted about Rosie and Blue? He was like, I wasn't ready for that.
I ain't know Rosie and Blue be giving you the
They
business.
be giving me the business. Well, they were during the quarantine.
Oh, okay.
Times have changed a little. All right, guys. This has been a pleasure. You guys got another look, a deeper inside look on a very touching part of my life. I want to thank Rob for coming on the show again. He will be back. I'm sure he will. And this has been another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I am your host, Misty, and you guys will tune in next week. Bye. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And we are streaming on all platforms. Check us out on Apple and Spotify. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's talk about it.